Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and my fellow New Yorkers. The public hearing for the LaGuardia Airport Access Improvement Project Draft Environmental Impact Statement, or EIS, has now begun. The time is 7 p.m. on September 22, 2020. My name is Charles Ramos, and I am the hearing officer for today's public hearing on the Draft Environmental Impact Statement. I am a retired New York State Supreme Court Justice, but my role here today is not judicial. My role is to ensure that this hearing is conducted in an orderly manner, which maximizes the public's opportunity to comment on the Draft Environmental Impact Statement. The purpose of today's hearing is to receive public comments on the draft EIS in accordance with the policies and procedures of the National Environmental Policy Act, the Federal Aviation Administration, and the New York State Eminent Domain Procedure Law. A brief welcome and project overview will now begin.
I can't hear anything. This is the stenographer, respectfully.
For the LaGuardia Airport Access Improvement Project. I'm Andrew Brooks, Environmental Program Manager for the FAA Eastern Region and one of the project managers for the FAA EIS team. The LaGuardia Airport Access Improvement Project is a proposal by the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey to provide an automated people mover system between LaGuardia Airport and public transit stations located at Metz Willets Point. The purpose of the project is to provide a time-certain transportation option that connects airport passengers and employees to and from LaGuardia as travel times to and from the airport continue to increase and become more unpredictable. Additionally, this transportation option should ensure adequate parking for airport employees. The draft EIS for the proposed project was published on August 21st. The purpose of these public hearings is for FAA to listen to your comments on the draft EIS for consideration as the agency works toward a final decision. A public hearing is a formal process that has a designated public hearing officer who presides over the meeting. The public hearing officer will give additional instructions on providing oral comments at the beginning of each public hearing. This is one of 3 public hearings that are being conducted for the LaGuardia Airport Access Improvement Project draft EIS. The public hearings are being recorded and transcripts of all oral comments will be included in the final EIS. Written comments received during the comment period will also be included in the final EIS. This public hearing is being conducted in accordance with the provisions of the National Environmental Policy Act, or NEPA, and the Council on Environmental Quality implementing regulations for NEPA. This public hearing is also being held to comply with the requirements of New York State's Eminent Domain Procedure Law, as construction of the proposed project would require acquisition of property by the New York State Department of Transportation. The Eminent Domain Procedure Law requires the condemner, so in this case, the New York State Department of Transportation, to conduct a public hearing in order to inform the public and to review the public use to be served by the proposed project, as well as the impact on the environment and residents of the local project area. The FAA encourages you to review the individual information stations that are available on the project website. Each station provides information related to different aspects of the LaGuardia Airport Access Improvement Project, including the NEPA process, EIS process, draft EIS overview, and each of the environmental resources studied. Based on an analysis of the proposed action compared to the no action alternative, the FAA has determined that the proposed action would have a significant impact on the environment, specifically to Section 4F properties, historic properties, traffic, environmental justice populations, and visual effects. The proposed action would also cause noise and vibration impacts, but those impacts would be less than significant and would be reduced further with incorporation of mitigation. Additionally, with implementation of mitigation identified in the draft EIS, impacts to historic properties and traffic would be less than significant. The Port Authority has also committed to incorporating mitigation measures to reduce potential effects to biological resources, coastal resources, hazardous materials, solid waste and pollution prevention, and water resources. The draft EIS was published on August 21st, starting the 45-day public comment period that closes on October 5th. The FAA encourages all interested parties to provide comments on the draft EIS. Comments should be as specific and substantive as possible so that the FAA can consider them in making the agency's decision and to adequately address and respond to them in the final EIS. There are 5 ways to submit comments: by email at comments@lgaaccesseis.com, on the website at https://www.lgaaccesseis.com/formal-comment, by mail to Mr. Andrew Brooks at the FAA Eastern Regional Office, 1 Aviation Plaza, Jamaica, New York, 11434, orally by leaving a voicemail at 855-LGA-EIS-9 or 855-542-3479, and orally at the public hearings. Any individual wishing to make an oral comment during the public hearings must register first in order to provide their comments. The time allocated for each individual commenter will be 3 minutes. Your turn to speak will be scheduled in the order it is received. Registration and instructions for the public workshops and hearings are available on the project website at https://www.lgaaccesseis.com. Please note that during the public hearings, FAA will not provide any responses or questions or engage in discussions. The purpose of the public hearing is for the FAA to listen to your comments for consideration as we work toward a final decision. Thank you for participating in the public review process of the draft EIS.
Today's hearing is scheduled to conclude at 9 p.m. The panelists for this hearing who will be listening to your comments are Andrew Brooks and Marie Genet with the Federal Aviation Administration, Kathleen Joy with the New York State Department of Transportation, Hirsch Parek with the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, and Steve Culberson with Recondo and Associates. As noted by Mr. Brooks, comments regarding the draft environmental impact statement can be made in one of 5 ways. One way is by making public comments during today's public hearing. Nevertheless, all comments, no matter how they are provided, will be considered by the FAA in the finalization of the environmental impact statement and issuance of the project decision. Written comments will be accepted until 5 p.m. on October 5, 2020. And my 35 years of judicial experience compels me to recommend that you make written comments. They're considered to be much more effective than oral, but you'll make your oral comments today if you wish. Please note that there are over 40 participants who have pre-registered to speak at today's hearing, which will most likely exhaust the time allotted for this evening. If you have not pre-registered to speak and wish to provide oral comments, please consider registering for either Wednesdays or Thursdays public hearings, as we may not be able to accommodate additional speakers during today's hearing. If you wish to make a public statement during this hearing and did not register beforehand, please indicate that you would like to provide oral comments on the Q&A tab in the Zoom window. Your request will be received by one of the monitors, but only if there is time at the end to accommodate additional speakers will we call your name after everyone that is pre-registered has provided their comments. If you're attending the Zoom meeting on your phone and wish to provide oral comments, please text your name to area code 301-531-5996. I'll repeat that. Area code 301-531-5996. If you have a question regarding the hearing process or procedures, please type your question into the question and answer tab in the Zoom window. If you are watching this hearing on the FAA Facebook or YouTube channels and wish to make a comment, you must join the Zoom meeting and use the Q&A tab in the meeting window. Instructions on how to join the Zoom meeting are on the project website at www.lgaaccesseis.com. I'll repeat that, www.lgaaccess, that's ACCESS, EIS.com, COM. Speakers tonight will be called in the order that they registered. When your name is called, your line will be unmuted and you can begin your comments. Please note that video cameras have been disabled so that the sign language interpreter can be adequately viewed by attendees. Please state and spell your name for the stenographer and then proceed with your comments. Please note that no questions concerning the project will be accepted or answered by the hearing officer, that's me, the FAA, or the panelists during today's hearing. In the interest of providing all speakers with the opportunity to speak on the record, please limit your comments today to 3 minutes. A notification will appear on the screen when 3 minutes is up as an indication that you should wrap up your comments. Only if time permits, speakers will be provided additional opportunity to speak after everyone desiring to speak has spoken. While you are limited to the length of your comments at this hearing, there is no size limit to written comments. All comments made here today will be recorded by a certified stenographer and will be included in the final environmental impact statement. An American Sign Language interpreter will be signing throughout the hearing. If you wish to provide comments in American Sign Language and did not indicate this when you registered, please type your request in the Q&A box in the Zoom window. During this public hearing, we ask that speakers refrain from demonstrating any aggressive behavior. This includes using discriminatory language, personal insults, and obscenity. The event organizer reserves the right to mute or remove speakers who violate these standards of conduct. At this point, I'm now going to call on our first speaker, who I believe will be Thomas Huzij. Are we ready? Again, please state your name, spell it for the stenographer, and then proceed.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. Okay, so my name is Thomas Huzij. First name is spelled Thomas. Last name is spelled Huz as in zebra, IJ as in joy. I am speaking tonight in opposition to the fixed guideway project as is. The environmental impact assessment is illegitimate and did not effectively analyze the alternative proposals that the community called for. I'm specifically referring to the concept of building out a dedicated bus lane from Queens, either Woodside or Jackson Heights, to the airport. The screening guidelines that were used to throw this proposal out from the very beginning was arbitrary and was clearly designed to eliminate it from consideration. First of all, the idea that the bus lane would not create a time-sensitive solution was clearly wrong. The bus lane, if it were dedicated, would create a pathway for the bus to reach the airport and the terminals without dealing with congestion. The comment in the assessment was that the bus would have to deal with congestion on airport roads. That's clearly an arbitrary distinction because you can just build bus lanes on the airport roads. They created this distinction to eliminate this proposal. Additionally, the subway extension from Astoria would create a much more useful transit option. This air train will have very low ridership, especially now that COVID has eliminated 90% of demand for airports and air travel. I implore you to cancel this project and reassess it once the funding shortcomings that we now have due to COVID are overcome. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker, I believe, is Annette Gill, be followed by Leo Sang and Michael Goodman. Annette, please state and spell your name and give us your comments. Annette, did you raise your hand on the screen so that the microphone can be unmuted? Perhaps we'll go on to the next speaker until we can get Annette's microphone sorted out. If we can activate Leo Tsang's microphone, we can proceed. Leo Tsang, can you please again state your name and spell it, please, and proceed with your comments? It seems that Leo may have disappeared. Michael Goodman, are you there? Michael Goodman will be followed by Warren Schreiber and Lilium Diaz. Michael, are you there? Isn't technology wonderful? Oh, it's Goldman. I'm sorry. It is Goldman. It's Michael Goldman. Michael, are you there? We're not finding Michael Goldman. Then can we go on to Warren Schreiber, to be followed by Lilium Diaz and Thomas Gresh?
Yes, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, please state your name and spell it,
Thank
please.
you. Warren Schreiber, W-A-R-R-E-N. Last name Schreiber, S-C-H-R-E-I, B as in boy, E-R. Thank you for being here this evening. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I would like to discuss the Long Island Railroad and the number 7 train, the capacity that's going to be available to accommodate people, travelers going to the air train. In a little while, when construction starts up again, there are going to be some ongoing large-scale developments taking place in downtown Flushing. There's going to be new hotel rooms. There's going to be new condos. There's going to be new businesses, and everybody is going to be using public transportation because there's going to be limited parking and it's difficult to drive in downtown Flushing. And they're going to be using either the Port Washington branch of the Long Island Railroad or the number 7 line. And right now, the number 7 line, when it was running normally before the pandemic, the number 7 line was at full capacity. There was no more room on the 7 line. There was no place to add additional trains to the number 7 line. And additionally, the MTA has now been talking about actually cutting service even once things come back to normal because of the budget shortfall that they have. So my comment, I have not taken a position for or against the air train, but I am concerned about the capacity on the Long Island Railroad and the number 7 line and how it's going to impact the everyday travelers who use that to go back and forth to work. And I thank you for your time and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Warren. Our next speaker, I believe, will be Lilium Diaz, followed by Thomas Gresh and Murmar Dedovic. Lilium, are you there? If not, we can go on to Thomas Gresh. Do we have Muammer Dedovic? Next speaker will be Justin Rogers, to be followed by Monica Brisovtovaka. If I know I messed up that pronunciation, but if you're there, I'll be thrilled. And then followed also by Pat Beckless. Is Justin there?
Yes, good evening. My first name is Justin, Justin. My last name is Rogers, Rodgers. Good evening. My name is Justin Rogers, and I'm the Managing Director of Real Estate and Property Management for the Greater Jamaica Development Corporation. Community concerns raised about AirTrain LaGuardia are familiar to anyone who has lived or worked in Southeast Queens, where 2 decades ago, we heard the same outcry over the proposal to build an AirTrain to JFK International Airport. Nobody will use it. Construction will destroy our neighborhoods. AirTrain will drive down our property values, and AirTrain will do nothing to improve our local struggling economy. 17 years after AirTrain, JFK went into service, connecting Long Island Railroad Station at Jamaica with JFK International Airport, none of those fears were realized. In fact, AirTrain JFK's legacy is quite the opposite. Take, for example, predictions that AirTrain would lower property values. The reality is that property values increased after AirTrain. Within a study area ranging 2 to 3 blocks from the AirTrain route on either side of the Van Wyck Expressway, property values have doubled within the first 6 years of the project's completion. Clearly, AirTrain JFK, built on modern concrete elevated track down the middle of a major highway, didn't have a negative impact on property values some opponents once feared. What about claims that AirTrain would not live up to projections on ridership because it didn't provide a one-seat ride to Midtown Manhattan? Well, that ridership projections were off the mark. AirTrain JFK carried far more passengers than projected, and the ridership increased every year prior to the current COVID-19 pandemic, including 6.7 million riders taking AirTrain to and from Long Island Railroad Station in Jamaica, a 5-fold increase since first full year of operation in 2004. AirTrain didn't just benefit travelers to and from JFK, it also benefited residents in around Jamaica and Southeast Queens, as well as across the city, who now hold a greater access to 40,000 jobs at JFK Airport, one of the Queensborough's top employers. With millions of travelers, many of them international visitors, moving through Jamaica every year, AirTrain has dramatically expanded our downtown historic's role as a transportation hub and commercial center, which has enjoyed the largest wave of economic growth in more than 60 years. The arrival of AirTrain, coupled with a 2007 rezoning, has clearly seen a significant catalyst for growth. Since these two pivotal moments, downtown Jamaica has attracted more than $1 billion in private and public investment to create more than 5 million square feet of new space. Currently, nearly 6 million square feet is in various stages of development across downtown Jamaica, including more than 4,000 mixed income and market rate apartments and over 2,000 hotel rooms. The arrival of AirTrain just minutes from JFK Airport has linked downtown Jamaica to the powerful economic engine that is JFK International Airport. New hotels designed for travelers, now just a short ride from their airline terminals, are sprouting up across downtown Jamaica.
Justin, you made some good points, but you're way over your time. Please wrap it up.
No problem. If AirTrain is only partially as successful in the communities around LaGuardia as it's been in Jamaica, we predict it will have a well worth investment as well as work rebound from our current crisis and rebuild smarter and stronger for a more equitable future.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Monica. Monica, I cannot pronounce your last name properly. Please do it. State your name, spell it, and Pat Beckless and James Carriero will be next. I really want Monica to come on because I would love to hear her pronounce her name. Do we have Pat Beckless? James Carriero? Do we have Carlo Cesura? To be followed by Charles Yu and Laura Coracosino. Charles Yu, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you. State and spell your name, please.
Yes, my name is Charles Yu, Charles. Last name is spelled YU. And I'm the Senior Director of Business Assistance at the Long Island City Partnership, a neighborhood development corporation that is an advocate for economic development that benefits the area's industrial, commercial, tech, cultural, tourism, residential sectors. Thank you to the FAA for holding this public hearing meeting. And Long Island City is a major economic hub in small part thanks to the LaGuardia Airport. To stay competitive and continue to attract businesses, residents, and tourists to our neighborhood, we need an air train to LaGuardia Airport, both to provide a modern, efficient public transit option to the airport and to remove cars from our streets and reduce congestion. Our mix of 6,800 plus businesses, which together employ 107,000 plus employees, include many that rely on regional, national, and international travel to and by customers, both to function and to attract the highest level customer and talent. We need the highest quality airport, which thanks to the rebuild of LaGuardia we are getting, served by the highest quality transit, which the air train will provide. This is also true for our cultural and tourism sectors. Although the COVID-19 pandemic has affected air travel, it is already showing signs of recovery, along with economic activity from travelers. Money spent on travel, hotels, accommodation will support our local cultural institutions, restaurants, and small businesses. Access to an excellent transportation system helped Long Island City become a tourist destination since adding more than 4,200 hotel rooms to the neighborhood since 2006, with more than 5,700 rooms in construction or announced. On the traffic side, the air train will provide significant relief as well. Backups on the Grand Central Parkway from LaGuardia turn into traffic on the Brooklyn-Queens Expressway, which spills onto our local streets. These delays impact many LIC businesses that engage in global commerce and depend on an easily accessible LaGuardia for their work. The air train is a fast, reliable, and modern solution to the congestion and mobility problems we currently face, while helping LaGuardia remain globally competitive with other airports. The air train would lower traffic congestion by removing approximately 28,000 cars from the road per week. Throughout the year, the air train is projected to serve anywhere from 6.6 to 10 million riders with reliable, predictable travel times. For these reasons, the Long Island City Partnership supports the proposed air train to LaGuardia Airport. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. We've located one of our prior speakers. Thomas Gresh, are you there?
Yeah,
Wonderful. Please give us, state your name, spell it for the stenographer, and then give us your comments, please.
certainly. Thank you very much. Apologize for the tech issues. My name is Thomas Gretsch. I'm the president and CEO of the Queens Chamber of Commerce.
Please give us your comments.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak tonight. The Queens Chamber of Commerce is founded in 1911. Today, we represent over 100,000 Queens-based employees and well over 1,200 businesses of various sizes. In fact, nearly 90% of our members have 10 or fewer employees. I'm happy to testify today in support, total wholehearted support of the LaGuardia Air Train for the following reasons. Today, it takes hours to go across part of our county to get through by the LaGuardia Airport area. This morning, I held an event down at the Flushing Promenade with nearly 100 different people. The LaGuardia Air Train is a requirement for our area as the only airport in North America that does not have a link to a rail line. Today, the area around the City Field, Willets Point area is growing exponentially. It's the gateway to our park system immediately to the east, Flushing Meadows, Corona Park. In addition, there's ongoing development at the Willets Point area. On top of the fact that there's going to be a new owner of the New York Mets, the area is primed for redevelopment. In addition, travelers come from all over to the east to get to LaGuardia Airport. One of the critically important parts of this project as well are travelers coming from the west from New York City. The LaGuardia Air Train project will reduce traffic, decrease greenhouse gases, and allow a better use of LaGuardia Airport. At the end of the day, it's one of the most important components of our transportation network in the 5 boroughs. The Queens Chamber of Commerce, our board, and all of our members wholeheartedly support this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your comments. I think we found another one of our speakers. Pat Beckless, are you there? And if she's there or he's there, we'll then follow by Carlos Sisura. But is Pat, are you there? I think you have to unmute your microphone. All right, we'll go on to, is Carlo available?
Hi, Carlo is here.
Please state your name, spell it please, and then go on with your comments.
Carlo, C-A-R-L-O, Scisura, S-C-I-S-S-U-R-A. Good evening, everyone. My name is Carlo Scisura, President and CEO of the New York Building Congress and a co-chair of A Better Way to LGA. The Building Congress and its almost 600 members are proud to support AirTrain LGA as the best option for improving access to LaGuardia Airport. At a time of unprecedented economic crisis in our city, our state, and truly in our nation, this investment in reliable and sustainable mass transit is needed for our community and for the future of the entire New York region. The New York Building Congress, for almost 100 years, has advocated for investment in infrastructure, job creation, and preservation and growth in the New York City area. With almost 600 member organizations comprised of more than 250,000 professionals, we are fully and 1,000% in support of this project. As we rebuild the economy amid the COVID-19 pandemic, we must prioritize infrastructure investment, which has proven to transform the city for the better, create good paying jobs, and spur additional economic growth. AirTrain LGA will be an investment in our city and our people. Currently, it is no secret getting to and from LaGuardia is an unpredictable and an unpleasant process. Anyone who has ever sat on the Grand Central Parkway knows that for sure. Frustrated travelers, congested roadways, and ultimately a loss in economic activity for the entire city. New Yorkers who live in Queens and the boroughs and Manhattan, and those visiting our city deserve a 21st century transportation hub that is well connected to urban life. The construction of AirTrain LGA will create good jobs for working class New Yorkers, will generate economic opportunities for local businesses, and help revitalize public spaces. It will get cars off the roads, which will reduce vehicle emissions and improve the quality of life for the residents of Queens. Once complete, the new rail link will support between 6 and 10 million passengers per year. This project will be built union, and that is a critical item for us to understand in New York. 80 organizations, almost 100 organizations, including the 5 borough chambers of commerce, support this project. The level of consensus amongst many community members is something we should all be proud of.
Thank you very much, Carlo. I think our next speaker will be Laura Colacione. Yes, no? Followed by Natalia Guzman, Solano, and Serena Malzin.
Hi there, this is Laura. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. My name is Laura Colacurcio, Laura-Colacurcio, and I'm the Vice President of the Association for a Better New York. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. ABNY is a nonprofit organization dedicated to the healthy growth and renewal of New York City's people, businesses, and communities. ABNY serves as a co-chair of the A Better Way to LGA Coalition, and we strongly support the AirTrain to LaGuardia. To assure New York City's competitiveness as a leading economic and cultural hub, we must prioritize projects that will help to jumpstart economic recovery from COVID-19, put people back to work, and deliver much needed improvements to the city's transportation network. This project project is a prime example of how working together, we can create a better, more efficient, less polluted, less congested, and more thriving city. We need to invest in projects that will bring jobs and money back into our economy by improving infrastructure, encouraging safe tourism to the city, and creating jobs for New Yorkers. The AirTrain will accomplish all of these goals. We envision a New York that is more prosperous because of the greater number of visitors coming to New York City through LaGuardia, in part because the travel experience will be more convenient. The AirTrain LGA will provide travelers and employees with a convenient, quick, and reliable travel option to LaGuardia Airport in 30 minutes or less. We also envision a city that is not in a chokehold of smog due to airport traffic. For the sake of our generation and the next, we need to curb pollution and bolster our city's economy, and AirTrain LGA will do both of those things. There is no question. AirTrain LGA will bring multiple benefits to Queens and to the greater New York City region. Anyone who has flown in or out of LaGuardia knows the worst part of the entire journey is often the trip to and from the airport. Average travel times are skyrocketing and getting worse. We hope that taking a taxi or car service to LaGuardia will be an outdated practice for most travelers in a matter of years. ABNY supports this bold, visionary infrastructure project, and we call on the Port Authority and the FAA to continue to take our opinions into consideration when planning this project. We urge the FAA to approve the AirTrain to create a better future for our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Is Natalia Guzman Solano there? You'll be followed by Serena Malzin and Thomas King. Natalia, are you there? I heard somebody. Serena Malzin?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please state your name and spell it, please, and proceed with your comments.
My name is Serena, Sarena, last name Malsin, Malsin. I am a legal intern for the PACE Environmental Litigation Clinic, representing Riverkeeper. We'll be submitting longer written comments by the comment deadline, but tonight I'd like to address a few main points relating to the alternatives analysis in the FAA's draft EIS. Primarily, first, that the FAA unlawfully narrowed the purpose and need statement for the AirTrain project to artificially limit consideration of feasible alternatives. Secondly, that the FAA used exclusive criteria to preclude alternatives from further consideration. And thirdly, that the draft EIS has seemingly ignored issues raised by both public comments and comments by participating agencies regarding the project's impacts. On the alternatives review, the FAA has stated the purpose and need of the AirTrain project is to provide time-certain access, while Port Authority, in its preceding alternatives review, only proposed that AirTrain provide convenient, predictable, and reliable access. FAA defined time-certain access as having no impact on or by other transportation at all. It served as one of the 8 exclusive criteria in the EIS, and these criteria essentially ensured that no alternatives would pass muster except the AirTrain alignment as proposed, thereby frustrating the purpose of an objective alternatives analysis. Further, one key issue for the community is the potential impact on the 7 train. MTA notified FAA on September 18th, 2019, that the majority of the excess capacity on the 7 train is subscribed by the build-out of the Willets Point neighborhood. However, the draft EIS stated there would be little or no impact on the 7 train. FAA must account for the expected Willets Point build-out in its cumulative impacts analysis. Once an entire section of the neighborhood is rebuilt, how much room will be left for AirTrain passengers? Further, we'd like the FAA to address the following concerns. Firstly, the public comment addressed in the 2019 scoping report that the proposed AirTrain location and connection with the Long Island Railroad at Willets Point is inefficient, would add to travel times, and would fail to provide one-seat transportation to LaGuardia. We wonder if this public response was considered when the FAA evaluated proposed alternatives for convenience, efficiency, and time certainty. Further, we wonder that given the $2 billion anticipated cost of construction, what the expected passenger fare for the AirTrain would be, and if the fare could have the effect of driving customers to continue using other forms of transportation instead of AirTrain because it's more expensive than other options. And finally, we question how many other EIS statements exist that have been published by the FAA using the time certain criterion and the way it is used in the AirTrain EIS. Broadly, these points highlight Riverkeeper's concern that this draft EIS is not only legally deficient, but fails to provide the affected public with transparency and diligent consideration of alternatives, as is the FAA's duty as a federal agency. Thank you.
Thank you, Serena. The next speaker will be Thomas King, followed by William Marino and Ryan Pukos. Thomas, are you there? Thomas? William Marino, are you there? If you're there, you have to unmute your mic. Ryan Pukos?
Yes, good evening.
Please, Ryan. State your full name, spell it, and give us your remarks.
Sure. My first name is Ryan, Y-A-N. Last name is Pukos, P-U-K-O-S. And I'm a senior project manager with the Grand Central Partnership. The Grand Central Partnership is a business improvement district serving an approximately 70 square block area in Midtown East surrounding Grand Central Terminal. On behalf of our District Management Association and its board of directors, we welcome the opportunity to comment on the LaGuardia Airport Access Improvement Project. As one of the world's largest bids, our mission is to keep our Midtown East neighborhood clean, safe, and thriving. We believe that creating a fast and reliable rail link between Midtown Manhattan and LaGuardia Airport will be critical to ensuring our district continues to be a vibrant place for New Yorkers and visitors alike to live, work, and play. The story of Midtown East at its core is one of access. Access to transportation, access to the best in business, game-changing innovation, world-class culture, restaurants, bars, and much more. Despite these many positive examples of access, current access to LGA from Midtown East leaves much to be desired. In fact, LGA is the only major airport on the East Coast without a direct rail link. As a result, travelers have faced unreliable and growing travel times to LGA due to heavy roadway congestion. By providing a reliable, predictable, and efficient rail link between LaGuardia Airport and Midtown Manhattan, AirTrain LGA will support and incentivize business travel and tourism, which will help drive economic recovery in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, and will also ensure the long-term economic health of the city and region. For these reasons, we urge the Federal Aviation Administration to approve AirTrain LGA. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. I think we have located James Carriero. James, are you there?
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Again, state your
Yes.
name, spell it for the record, and proceed.
James Carriero, James, last name Carriero, Carriero. I am a resident of East Elmhurst. I live on Ditmars Boulevard in the area adjacent to LaGuardia Airport. I am a member of the Ditmars Boulevard Block Association that opposes the AirTrain, and I am counsel for the legal counsel for the Ditmars Boulevard Block Association. Our organization concurs with all the statements made by Serena Malson of Riverkeeper, and we also object to the AirTrain and object to a lot of the statements made by the people who represent the organizations in favor of the AirTrain. For instance, the Queens Chamber of Commerce, Thomas Gresh, says that it takes hours to get to LaGuardia Airport by existing mass transit. That is not true. Bus travel takes about half an hour, if not less. Travelers from New York City can access bus service at Woodside and at Astoria Boulevard to get to the airport in that period of time. This project is the most wrong-headed transit project in the history of New York City. It takes people east past the airport and requires them to double back to the airport. It is not bold and visionary as indicated by Mr. Carlos Cesura. It is based on rail plans that were developed in the late 1990s along with the JFK air train. Certainly technology has advanced in the last 20 plus years that we can do a much better job than spend $2.5 billion on a monstrous, expensive air train. This project really is for, if you look at the EIS, is really for a $2.5 billion employee parking lot, which we just learned today is to replace 1,000 parking spaces in off airport at Willets Point. And I fail to see the logic how a 1,000 parking space parking lot will take cars off the road. There are many more objections that my association and I personally have to the air train, and I will make sure that I put them in written comments to the draft EIS. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ryan. Now, have we found Mr. Marino or not? William Marino, are you there? Apparently not. All right, then Brad Rolfe would be next. Is Brad Rolfe available? If Brad's not there, then Sinead Wadsworth, Tom O'Keefe, and Lorinda Hooks are the next three on my list. Are any of those Wadsworth, O'Keefe, and Hooks? Anyone there? No one.
Hi, good evening.
Who is this?
Lorinda Hooks.
Oh, wonderful. Please spell your name and get with their comments.
Okay, Larinda Hooks, Hooks. I am president of the East Elmhurst Corona Civic Association. I come before you tonight representing the association and its members. Since the onset of this project, my board and I have continued to discuss with our membership the pros and cons of this AirTrain project. We, in fact, have several members who are against the project and have several members who are for the project. However, as the development continues in our community, I come before you to assure that all voices are heard. We appreciate the fact that the Port Authority has listened and addressed some of our concerns to date, such as moving the AirTrain from the median of the Grand Central Parkway to alongside the promenade, creating a Flushing Bay Promenade Community Advisory Council to help design improvements to the Flushing Bay Promenade, developing a workforce development program to provide job opportunities to local community residents, and the Vaughan College Scholarship Program. However, given the fact that East Elmhurst is an environmental justice community, mitigation benefits that I would like to be strongly considered are a community center. I'm going to say it again, a community center in our community for senior and youth services in East Elmhurst, the former Dollar rental car lot, or the vacant property across the street, which would make a perfect location. This has been our top priority request that has gone unaddressed for far too long, and I look forward to us having this discussion. Trade apprenticeship programs now to prepare local residents for construction jobs for the AirTrain. And I repeat, now. Training and guaranteed job placements for local residents for the operations and maintenance of the AirTrain. a seat at the table for direct community input related to the AirTrain and continued construction at LaGuardia Airport, air monitors throughout the surrounding neighborhoods surrounding the airport, recreation and concession opportunities for local businesses along the newly improved promenade, as well as the formation and funding of a conservancy to upkeep and maintain the promenade. Just last weekend, several community organizations had to come together and clean the promenade because of lack of resources to upkeep this community asset. I personally participated in both cleanup events. An annual community fund commitment to support community engagement events such as Family Day, beautification projects, STEM toy giveaways, STEM programs, college scholarships, just to name a few. Although you guys have been assisting in the funding of some of these projects already. We look forward to a continued working relationship with the Port Authority. And that's the end of my testimony.
Thank you very much for your comments. All right, I think we have found Brad Rolfe. Did we? Were we successful? Mr. Rolfe, are you available? Unmute your mic. You've got to do it on your Zoom screen. Lower left-hand corner. All right. Can we have the next speaker on my list would be Joel Bacon. Are you available? Be followed by Richard Munsinger and Kathleen Essay.
Good evening, Joel Bacon here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. It's Joel, Joel. Last name is Bacon, Bacon. I serve as Executive Vice President of Government and Public Affairs for the American Association of Airport Executives. Founded in 1928, AAAE, as it is known, is the world's largest professional organization representing individuals who work at public use, commercial, and general aviation airports. AAAE's 7,000 members serve at some 875 airports and hundreds of companies and organizations that support the airport industry. AAAE has long advocated publicly for policies and projects that promote the responsible, cost-effective, environmentally sensitive development of airport infrastructure to the benefit of our members, the communities they serve, and the traveling public. And I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight to offer AAAE's strong support for the draft environmental impact statement for the LaGuardia AirTrain project. The proposed LaGuardia Access Improvement Project will more efficiently and effectively connect airport users and employees with the entirely new LaGuardia Airport, producing a win for travelers and workers alike. Its completion will enhance connectivity to an incredible facility that provides connectivity to the rest of the world. Importantly, the project will take thousands of cars off area roadways each day, reducing congestion, emissions, and hassles that could stymie the return of air travel and economic activity in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. The AirTran is also a win for the thousands of workers who will be employed by the project, providing an important boost for the local, regional, and national economies. The Port Authority of New York and New Jersey and its aviation department have long been viewed by the airport community as leaders on environmental stewardship. And the LaGuardia AirTrain project is further evidence of the care and diligence taken by the port to develop critical infrastructure consistent with local and regional environmental considerations and national policy objectives. Finally, I would note that the project is being financed in part by local user fees known as passenger facility charges, consistent with federal law and eligibility requirements. This project highlights the benefit that PFCs provide to the Port Authority and to other airport operators across the country as a critical tool that fuels necessary development with strong environmental safeguards, as evidenced by the thorough public comment process that accompanies review of this project's EIS. We continue to urge federal policymakers to eliminate the antiquated federal cap on local PFCs to ensure that additional worthy projects like this are able to proceed at airports across the country. Thank you very much for your time and attention this evening.
Thank you. Do we have Richard? We have him listed as Richard M., but I think it's Richard Mullings. Richard M., are you there? If not, Kathleen S.A. If you're there, we'll try to unmute your microphone and see if you can get your comments.
Can you hear me? Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Kathleen?
Yes, this is Kathleen S.A.
Oh, please spell your name and proceed with your comments.
Sure, Kathleen with a K, A-T-H-L-E-E-N, last name spelled E-S-S-A-Y. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I am a Jackson Heights resident as well as a Long Islander from the get-go. And I really strongly am opposed to this project, and I apologize to the community for not making my voice heard sooner. The $2 billion project to build the air train to LaGuardia Airport needs to stop now. This is a huge waste of public money for a project that is not needed. This plan will take away Queens' scarce parkland, crowd the already crowded 7 train, block access to Flushing Bay, bring even more construction noise and pollution, and not help the Queens community in any way, and not make an improvement to getting to LaGuardia. This costly, extraneous plan is expensive for the government and for the travelers. It takes the person flying in and out of LaGuardia a fee that will be a $9 trip from LaGuardia to Willis Point, at which passengers with luggage will pay to take the 7 train or the LIR ticket of $8 that runs 2 times per hour. Whereas a subway ticket from LaGuardia with a LaGuardia Express bus transfer costs $275 now. Other cities like Seoul have been successful with busing systems. I don't see why we need this. Few people traveling from Long Island would benefit from this service. Most drive, and if not, are coming by train, which goes to Woodside. And the service to Port Washington line is very limited. And then could you get a bus to LaGuardia Airport? That's another question. This savings, this would save another 15 minutes on the bus, on the 7 train to the proposed air stop. It would add us another 15 minutes if you were to go to Willis Point to then from Woodside to get to Willis Point to get to the air train. When New York City and New York State are facing major fiscal crises, this project does not add value to New York City and fleeces the current and future residents, travelers, and New York City. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen. I have the next three, I have the next 3 speakers, but I believe we found Richard M. Did we find you, Richard?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Before you start, I want to say that the next 3 will be Beryl Major, James Goldberg, and Anthony Peterson. But Richard, if you'll state your full name and spell it and give us your comments, please.
Yes, thank you very much, sir. My name is Richard Mullings, M-U-L-L-I-N-G-S is the last name. I'm a longtime resident of East Elmhurst. I lived here for over 25 years. I just want to say that the LaGuardia Air Train project is a waste of taxpayer dollars. And it's a big eyesore in the community. They plan to build on that promenade that's been in this community for a long period of time. On top of that, when I was engaging with Port Authority representatives about how effective this was in removing 50% of the cars, they could not provide a report that proved that motorists would prefer to take the air train over any other means of transportation. In many events prior to this event tonight, they have been trying to manipulate the public to think that we choose the air train over any other of the 47 other alternatives that was in the EIS report. Majority of the comments in the EIS report requested for an extension of the N train line. This is what the community was asking for, yet we were being ignored. And there are many other reports that were saying that the existing transportation hub going to 74th Street and Roosevelt, that existing hub is actually a lot more effective than the air train. We can't continue to have government silencing the community and telling us, coming into our community and telling us what's good for our community. They already built the JFK air train, and yet there's still traffic on the Van Wyck up to this day for the last 20 years. There's no proof that this project is actually effective and it's for the community, regardless of what they want to put in our pockets. And that's all I want to say tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Do we have Beryl Major? Apparently not. Do we have James Goldberg? No. Have we found Anthony Peterson? Anthony, are you there?
I am.
Please state and spell your name and proceed with your comments. We lost you.
I'm here. My name is Anthony Peterson. It's Anthony Peterson.
Mr. Peterson, would you speak up a little bit louder, please?
Sure, I'm sorry about that. My name is Anthony Peterson, Anthony Peterson, Peterson, and I am the Executive Director of Crescent Consultant Associates. Just wanted to say that we are in full support of the project. Two main reasons. One is it brings a lot of opportunities to local minority and women-owned businesses that are in dire need, especially during this COVID pandemic, and also for the workforce, the workers and the jobs that it creates for the local residents and residents within Queens. It helps them get to work a lot easier if they're working at the airport. And then once again, it helps with opportunities to minority and women-owned business the same way that the new LGA has created multiple opportunities and the future work at JFK. I'd like to thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you for your comments. I think we found Michael Goldman. Are you here, Michael? Michael has to unmute his microphone.
Okay, you got me?
Yes, sir.
All right, basically,
State your full name and spell it, please, for the stenographer.
Michael Goldman, MichaelGoldman. I want to say that, first of all, I've been riding the subways for like over 50 years. I've been riding the Long Island Railroad for over 40 years, and I am opposed to the air train. The Long Island Railroad Port Washington branch goes right by LaGuardia Airport. Instead of building a whole new railroad like the air train, which will require passengers to move themselves and their stuff from one train to another, why don't we build a spur right into adjacent LaGuardia Airport off the Port Washington Long Island Railroad branch? This will allow passengers from Manhattan to get on the Long Island Railroad train with their stuff at Penn Station in Manhattan, and eventually from Grand Central Station if they ever get the East Side Access project done, and go directly into LaGuardia without switching trains and without dragging their stuff, and it will take about 20 minutes. We can have some Long Island Railroad trains stop at Woodside Station, allowing people who use the subway like the number 7 and coming from Eastern Long Island and Queens to get onto the Long Island Railroad train to LaGuardia. Much better than another lame air train. In fact, do the same thing at Kennedy Airport. Take down the underutilized air train and replace it with a Long Island Railroad branch into Kennedy from Jamaica Station. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. All right, I think our next speaker will be Harrison Green by Michael Bergen and Phil Conisberg. Harrison, are you there? Harrison Green?
Hi, yes.
Wonderful. State your full name and spell it, please, and then proceed with your comments.
Harrison Green, Harrison, Green, Green. I just, so I'll start by saying thank you to the Federal Aviation Administration. The Real Estate Board of New York is the city's leading real estate trade association representing commercial, residential, and institutional property owners, builders, managers, investors.
Mr. Green, I do beg your pardon. Would you mind terribly to speak into your mic, sir?
Okay, is this better?
Likely, but thank you, sir.
So sorry, my apologies there. So the Real Estate Board of New York is the city's leading real estate trade association representing commercial, residential, institutional property owners, builders, managers, investors, brokers, salespeople, and other organizations and individuals active in New York City real estate. REBNY is in full support of the proposed LaGuardia Airport AirTran. Before us is a real opportunity to finally address a major shortcoming in our ability to easily connect local, national, and international travelers through LaGuardia with all that New York City has to offer. As we rebuild our economy from the COVID-19 pandemic, it is more important than ever to provide a reliable and sustainable means of transit to LaGuardia. Our members are proud to have built world-class office space that houses businesses of all types, from major global tenants to up-and-coming startups. New York City's role as a global capital can only continue if we make it easier for visitors to want to come and do business here. The fact that LaGuardia is the only major airport in the New York City region that is not accessible directly by rail runs counter to our collective efforts to ensure New York remains a hub of commerce. When built, the AirTran will provide less than 30-minute trips between LaGuardia and Manhattan's central business district hubs, such as Penn Station and Grand Central. The impact on tourism for small businesses and the hospitality industry is paramount to our long-term economic recovery, and reliable infrastructure such as this is key to our collective efforts. And AirTran LaGuardia, we have an opportunity to rebuild our economy through jobs created locally. This project will create thousands of opportunities for construction jobs. In addition, an effective rail link that connects the Long Island Railroad and subway systems also expands the job access at LaGuardia by ensuring access from every borough. Providing this much needed rail service will also play a role in our city's commitment to encourage public transportation and keeping cars off the streets. With an estimated approximately 99% passenger access of LaGuardia through surface roads and streets, accessibility by rail will decrease significantly the volume of cars on the roads in this region. With reduced congestion, this will contribute to less long access on travel times and the delays that residents traveling home receive during peak hours. With ridership projected at 6 to 10 million rides per year, we expect thousands of cars off the Grand Central Parkway and off of our local roads. The New York real estate industry will always have a long-term view of our city and state success. We must make critical investments like the LaGuardia AirTran if we want to continue to prepare for our future and keep New York an economic driver for years to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Michael Bergen. Are you there, Michael? Followed by Phil Koenigsberg. Michael, are you there? Phil, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Great. My name is Phil, P-H-I-L, last name Koenigsberg, K-O-N-I-G-S, as in Sam, B-E-R-G. First, hello, Hirsch. Haven't seen you for a while. I'd like a couple of points I'd like to make. First, do you really think the 2 billion or 2.5 billion is going to be the end cost? We know it's going to be much higher of an eventual cost through the years. I have a very large concern and feel for the local area, although I don't live in the area near the airport or East Elmhurst or where the air train is going to go. You have to really give those residents and businesses the concern that they deserve. The other point I would say is you need to have a one-seat trip to the airport. Northeast Queens, I don't think you're going to get many people who are going to take even the railroad to the airport. They're going to go by car, their own personal car, or they're going to go by a cab. You're still going to have the cars on the road from eastern parts of the airport, east of the airport. Main service will be from the city, from Manhattan, and that's where you need a one-seat direct link to the airport. Thank you very much. And considering the technology, this is working pretty good. Thank you again. Have a good day.
Thank you, Philip. I think we found Michael Bergen, but before we get on to him, I just want to let Michael DuLong, Michael Shama, and Craig Stewart know that they'll be next in line. Michael Bergen, are you there, please?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. State your full name. Spell it.
Michael Bergen, MICHAELBERGIN.
Let her rip.
Yes, I was just wondering if this, I'm just going to make a statement here. The LaGuardia project was done all union, and it was done on time and safely. I would like to see this project go fully union. I think the air train leaving from Willets Point will be great, and I think everybody will benefit from the area. I just hope this project is completely built union. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. All right. Michael DuLong, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good. It's good to see your faces. Sorry I dressed up for you. You can't see mine. My name is Michael DuLong, MICHAELDULONG. I'm a senior attorney at Hudson Riverkeeper. We're a nonprofit watchdog organization dedicated to defending the Hudson River and its tributaries, including Flushing Creek and Flushing Bay. I want to thank Andrew Brooks and Marie Janae and the staff at FAA for holding this hearing. Riverkeeper really does appreciate the forum for public discussion among stakeholders. To answer your question earlier, Mr. Ramos, technology is not the best. Obviously, community members like Pat Beckles are having trouble dialing in and speaking, and voices are missing from this meeting. I want to start with a quote from Governor Cuomo. Quote, "Forget your transit experts," unquote. With the DEIS, the FAA has abided by the governor's instructions to a T. You have ignored transit experts. In addition to being unlawful, the result-oriented alternatives analysis, in the words of transit expert Dr. Yona Freemark, was biased towards a certain conclusion from the start. The analysis does a disservice to the community of East Elmhurst and surrounding neighborhoods and to thousands who use the park. FAA rests its alternatives review upon 8 prerequisite criteria. If an alternative did not meet all 8 criteria, it was rejected. Surprise, surprise, the only alternative that qualified for review was the chosen alternative, an air train along Flushing World's Fair Promenade. The prerequisite criteria are extra legal, irrational, and unreasonable. For instance, the time certain criteria alone excludes all bus transit alternatives as well as ferry service. Another criteria states that the proposed infrastructure project cannot have an impact on other infrastructure, no matter how insignificant or mitigatable that impact would be. The criteria are so unreasonable, they don't pass the smell test, and they will not pass muster under a review of your Section 4F analysis. These are not the types of truly unusual factors or community disruption that reaches extraordinary magnitudes that would absolve you of your Section 4F duty to fully evaluate the alternatives. We begged you to get this analysis right, and you did not. Regarding mitigation, the DEIS doesn't discuss the impact of having an air train tower over a park, causing localized noise, visual impacts, shadow impacts, and impacts to the character of the park, etc. If it had, FAA could provide a minimum plan for mitigation of those impacts, but it has not. Instead, it has eschewed any mitigation planning whatsoever. The DEIS refers to a memorandum of agreement between Port Authority and New York City Parks, whereby $8 million would be paid to an ad hoc commission for parkland improvements. Forget about the 25. The 15 of those or 17 of those are going to just replace what's going to have to be moved because the air train can go through the park. The 8 million is what's for actual improvement. And that's the payment to host an air train. And that would be one payment for 30 years worth of air train in the park, probably 100. I could go on. The analysis doesn't get it right. The mitigation doesn't get it right. Your Section 4F analysis is not going to pass legal muster.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have Michael Shama there.
Yes, I'm here. My name is Michael Shama. That's MICHAELSHAMMA. I'm the president of Sam Schwartz Engineering, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. I speak on behalf of 12 professionals who served as senior transportation officials in New York City and New York State government, with each of us having 3 to 5 decades of experience planning, developing, and delivering major transportation infrastructure projects and programs, and managing the agencies that own and operate these vital assets. Today, I speak of our unequivocal and full support of the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey's proposed air train LaGuardia to provide direct service to the region's only remaining major airport without a convenient transit connection. With our hundreds of years of combined transportation infrastructure experience, we well understand the difficulties of getting a major project built in today's fractious and uncertain political climate, especially during a global health crisis. On the other hand, we also know what critical requirements are necessary to make a project viable. AirTrain LaGuardia project meets all of the viability requirements. Its environmental impacts are minimal. There is no private land taking, and the forecasts are sound and supported by real-world experience and data from JFK AirTrain. The estimated costs are reasonable and offer far greater predictability than a sub-runway tunnel or large-scale private land acquisition. And finally, this project has a strong and proven champion, the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, which has demonstrated time and again over the years it knows how to get big projects done. I state for the record that we have considered several alternatives, including the end line to LaGuardia and dedicated bus lanes. It is our clear view and strong opinion that only the proposed AirTrain LaGuardia meets the viability requirements. More details are included in our written comments, which were submitted yesterday. AirTrain LaGuardia will be directly accessible to Long Island Railroad customers and the MTA number 7 line, which already connects with most other subway lines. When completed, it will only be 16 minutes from Penn Station or Grand Central Terminal. We therefore strongly endorse this much needed, regionally beneficial transportation infrastructure advancement, and we urge US DOT and the Federal Aviation Administration to approve the AirTrain LaGuardia project as proposed by the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Before we go on to Craig, Robert Gaskin and Julie Harris will be following Craig. Craig Stewart, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please proceed.
Okay, thank you. My name is Craig Stewart. That's C-R-A-I-G. Stewart is S-T-E-W-A-R-T. I am the Executive Vice President of McKissick & McKissick, the oldest minority-owned construction management firm in the country, founded in 1905. On behalf of McKissick & McKissick, I wish to express our overwhelming support of the construction of this vital rail connection to LaGuardia Airport. This project provides a pragmatic solution towards connecting to existing transit infrastructure without major construction impacts to neighborhoods and without the takings of private properties. The project will provide sorely needed, reliable, and predictable access to the airport and reduce vehicular traffic congestion that will have a positive impact on the reduction of greenhouse gases. As our economy struggles to recover from the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, this project will create an estimated 3,000 construction jobs. Additionally, by establishing a 30% minority and women-owned business participation goal and a local residents hiring preference. It will benefit those communities that have been disproportionately suffer from the effects of the pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Craig. Robert Gaskin, please. Robert Gaskin, are you there, please? Unmute your microphone. If not, we'll go on to Julie Harris. Are you there, Ms. Harris?
I am. Hello. Good evening. I'm Julie Harris. That's JULIE HARRIS. I am the co-founder and executive director for the Council of Black Architecture and Engineering Companies, shortly known as CBAC, our acronym. And I am a frequent flyer of New York airports, in and out of LaGuardia, JFK, and even sometimes Newark. And I am pleased to wholeheartedly endorse this project, as we do need a 21st century mode of transportation into LaGuardia to match the awesome new terminals that were just built. It's imperative that this happen because as we come out of COVID, we're going to start having more and more people back into New York City in and out of the region, and LaGuardia is the perfect place to fly in and out of. And not only that, I'm really glad to look at some of the things that the port is doing, especially around the environmental justice populations as it relates to contracting and its commitment to contracting with women and minority-owned businesses and local businesses. And a lot of my constituents or the members of my organization have worked on major transportation programs around the country, and we have a few that are working on the Newark Airport and the JFK Airport, and some have worked on the LaGuardia Airport terminal redevelopment. So this is a welcome addition to the area. I love going in and out of Flushing, and I think this is going to bring more people into the area in terms of tourism and just getting with ease to the airport. So I support this program, and thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. Now, Robert Gaskin, have we found you? Robert, are you there? Well, all right. We'll the next three were Tom Wright, Leoncio Reyes, and Rebecca Pryor. If we can't find Tom Wright.
Okay. Hi, Thomas Wright, THOMAS. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
WRIGHT. I'm president and CEO of the Regional Plan Association. I'm pleased to testify today in support of the Port Authority's proposal to build an AirTrain connector between LaGuardia Airport and Willets Point, and to offer RPA's recommendations to ensure that the project meets its goals. As far back as 1947, when RPA hosted the Airports of Tomorrow conference, we have advocated and provided recommendations for upgrading the region's airport infrastructure. In 2011, our report, Upgrading to World Class, provided concrete ideas on how to expand gate and terminal capacity, which would be addressed by rebuilding terminals at LaGuardia, Newark, and JFK, increasing runway capacity at Newark and JFK, and redesigning the region's airspace, and building transit access to all three airports. RPA initially laid out the conditions for a successful LaGuardia ground access project in our Upgrading to World Class Revisited report in 2018, and we echoed these recommendations in previous testimony submitted to the FAA during the environmental review scoping process. In the 9 years since we released our initial report, the number of passengers flying through LaGuardia increased from 24 million annual passengers to 31 million by 2019. While air travel has declined dramatically since COVID hit, the region should continue to plan and build for the future when air travel comes back and the trends from recent years are resumed. During the environmental review process, RPA supported the Port Authority's preferred alternative and listed a number of criteria which needed to be met for the project to successfully accomplish its goals. Perhaps the most important is the need to foster coordination between the Port Authority and the MTA to find an equitable way to pay for operations and to ensure frequent service of at least 4 trains an hour on the Long Island Railroad Port Washington branch. This remains a key issue, especially with the MTA facing huge deficits due to COVID-19. We have also highlighted the importance of fare controls, ticket price, station design, and pedestrian connections, designing a system that could be later extended to Jamaica Queens, improvements and amenities in Flushing Bay Park, and resilience. These issues will all play an important role in the eventual success of the system. We've had an ongoing dialogue with the Port Authority officials to follow up on their progress on these items, and we really appreciate their great work on these issues. Obviously, since the scoping sessions last year, the COVID-19 global pandemic has caused great harm and loss of life to our communities and created enormous fiscal challenges for all levels of government. Some have maintained that in this new environment, the Port Authority should pull back from this project or invest the funds in other regional priorities. The problem with this argument is that the LaGuardia Air Train takes advantage of dedicated revenue sources, specifically the passenger facility charge levied on tickets paid by LaGuardia air travelers, that can only be used on projects that benefit the travelers paying the fee. So the LaGuardia Air Train is not in competition with other regional investments and instead should be evaluated on whether it addresses an important need at LaGuardia and whether it is the best way to address that need. As we have previously stated, providing a rail transit link to LaGuardia is critical for the success of the entire region, and this proposal is the best way to accomplish that goal. We urge the FAA to advance the project and look forward to working with the Port Authority and other stakeholders to keep moving it forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. The next three speakers will be Mr. Reyes, Ms. Pryor, and Patrick St. Jean. Is Mr. Reyes available? Or have we found Mr. Robert Gaskin? I'm striking out here. Rebecca Pryor, are you here?
Hello, can you hear me?
Please speak up. I heard someone.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, great.
State your full name and spell it for the stenographer, please.
Yeah, hi, my name is Rebecca Pryor. That's REBECCA I'm the program coordinator for Guardians of Flushing Bay, a grassroots coalition of local residents, human-powered boaters, and park users advocating for a healthy and equitably accessible Flushing Bay and Flushing Creek. Thank you to Andrew Brooks and the staff at FAA for holding this hearing. Guardians appreciates the opportunity for public discussion. However, I'd like to note that by being entirely digital, the process excludes our community members with barriers to technology and has many barriers itself, as I think we've all experienced. Guardians is reviewing FAA's DEIS and will submit full comments once the review is complete. I'm going to focus on a few key points for the sake of time. First and foremost, Guardians of Flushing Bay believes that the proposed LaGuardia Air Train is an ill-conceived transit project that alienates parkland, burdens overburdened transit infrastructure, and is an irresponsible use of federal stimulus funding. It is not lost on us or our neighboring watershed communities that similar proposals have been rejected in whiter, wealthier neighborhoods in the past. We are not blind to the fact that our parkland is effectively being treated as an environmental sacrifice zone. We ask you, FAA, to please not erase the concerns of communities who rely on the use of their parkland, views of the bay, and enjoyment of the waterfront. Second, we are concerned about FAA's definition of the communities impacted by this project. The DEIS determines that the communities in the study area are solely defined as racial and ethnic environmental justice populations and are not also considered economic environmental justice populations. We urge FAA to reconsider this designation and evaluate the impacted neighborhoods as both economic and racial and environmental justice communities. Third, the DEIS refers to a memorandum of agreement between Port Authority and New York City Parks, which includes a one-time payment for promenade improvements. These improvements have been promised to us in the form of railing repairs and sidewalk replacement. It is insulting to park users and neighbors to be asked to endure a $2 billion air train that many residents will never use in exchange for what is essentially crumbs, basic park improvements without any plan for maintenance. Furthermore, the improvements do not address any of the sound, sight, or coastal impact outlined in the DEIS. Finally, we stated in a letter to our congressional delegates signed by our local partners that the wake of the initial impact of COVID-19 is not an opportunity to force through pet projects with federal stimulus funding. It is a moment to prioritize community resilience and transit equity. In alignment with Riverkeeper and our partners, we believe that you need to revise and publish a second draft for public comment before submitting the final DEIS. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. We've been trying to find Patrick St. Jean. Are you there? And Mr. Reyes, you're not there either? We're going to try to find these people. All right. The next two I have are James Mongaluzzo and Dave Dutcher. James, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. So this is James, James, Mongaluzzo, Mongeluzzo. So, I would like a state-of-the-art modern system that creates a one-seat ride and it's priced in a reasonable way to really encourage people to use rail, to not use cabs, to not use cars, to not use rideshare service or car services. But this project just isn't it. It doesn't do that. This project isn't needed now with the ridership so low, demand is low. There's not a lot of air travel here. It doesn't seem like Port Authority is going to be able to finance it. So I think we should call it off and look to see if maybe in the near future, when maybe there'll be improvements in technology, we may be able to create a one-seat ride, create a better system that actually takes more cars off the road, actually gets more people to use it. I would love to build a direct subway link, but again, this project just doesn't do it. It's not the modern state-of-the-art type of infrastructure that we have in other great world cities like Tokyo or London, where they have subways directly into their international airports with one-seat rides. That's really what we need here. The Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, they want federal funds to help their capital plan. So this project is in direct competition with other needs that we have here. East Elmhurst, Corona, and Queens in general had some of the highest death rates due to COVID-19 in the country. And we still have a hunger issue here. We have an issue with the lack of hospital beds. We don't have a medical clinic in our neighborhood. Federal funds could be used for these things instead of propping up this project. We need small loans. We need money for small businesses to help people who might be foreclosed on because of all the economic issues we're having. And again, this project may be competing with those things. So this is not what we need. And even there's been a lot of fake information put out by some of the people who are representatives of organizations that represent many members, and many of their members weren't polled on whether or not these organizations should support these initiatives. Saying things like a lot of these airports don't. All airports have rail connections. When Stewart and Charlotte, Kansas City, Cincinnati, Houston, none of these things have rail connections either. They try to make LaGuardia look a lot worse than it actually is. But anyway, I do think that the process to identify alternatives was biased, especially towards bus transit. Right now in New York City, we have lots of bus lanes coming up. Parking lanes are being taken away, which obviously does negatively impact some residents. But there was a bus redesign that was going to happen in Queens. And this was a perfect time to integrate a bus plan to get people to LaGuardia and put bus lanes on the airport, just like they've done in LAX. This could be a temporary solution while we wait for a better way to get a one-seat ride, because I cannot believe that it's impossible to create a one-seat ride. So these temporary solutions would be cheaper. And right now, when there's not a lot of people using airports, this will probably be sufficient for now too. The MTA has budget cuts, is probably going to have to deal with some budget cuts. So I'm not convinced that they're going to be able to keep the level of service necessary to prevent overcrowding from the air train if this project is able to be funded. So I want you to look into whether or not the MTA can actually keep those Long Island Railroad trains running at the rate that they say they are. And also if people in Northeastern Queens who might be able to use this city fare program to get cheaper fares in the city and not have to pay the more expensive fares now, if they want to use the train from Little Neck to Flushing, is that increase of ridership going to make it more difficult to accommodate the air train passengers? And even with a congestion pricing, if they let more people from Northeastern Queens use the rail at a cheaper rate, how is that going to impact overcrowding on the 7 and on the Port Washington line? So please look into all of those things. And I will put more formal comments later. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, James. It's now 8:39, and we seem to have run out of our first list of speakers. But we're going to try to see if we can find some of the people who did sign up and didn't show up. And if not, if there are any other people who wanted to make a public statement during this hearing, but you didn't register beforehand, please make a comment on the question and answer tab in the Zoom window, and perhaps we can get you on board tonight. If you have dialed into the meeting on your phone and wish to provide oral comments, please text your name to area code 301-531-5996. I'll repeat that, area code 301-531-5996. If you have a question regarding the hearing process or procedures, please type your question into the question and answer tab. Do we have somebody on who's?
Hi, it's Pat.
Yes, good afternoon, Judge Ramos. Robert Gaskin here. How is it?
We found you.
Yes, sir. This to you and your panel. I agree with you with the technology, but I guess we got around. But I'd like to thank everyone this afternoon. First name's Robert, R-O-B-E-R-T, and last name Gaskin, G-A-S-K-I-N. And firstly, I'd just like to say that I am a longtime resident of Queens, 40 years in being a resident, plus also have an architectural practice, 30 years within the Queens area. And we have seen through the JFK development, particularly the air train development, the economic growth and impact that I'm not even going to say Southeast Jamaica, Queens has had, but pretty much for the whole economic growth of Queens. The air train that was placed into Jamaica, borrowing and spurning from that to also do what is right now being proposed for LaGuardia will have a tremendous impact, please, for not only the Queens area, but also the allowance for folks to be able to get from Manhattan and also from Eastern Long Island to LaGuardia. We are in LaGuardia, the only airport, as you could say, for almost international and such trafficked group that does not have direct access by rail. The one thing that, I would like to also propose, in terms of the allowance as well, is if also a proposal could be looked at linking the Willets Point 7 line as well through maybe to Jamaica. Because one of the big things that, I haven't heard or, anyone really bring up, but we have to recognize that there is a very big need for people to get from JFK direct to LaGuardia. And if you don't have a 3-hour window sometimes in terms of checking in at customs and getting, taxi or bus service, there's no way that you're going to even be able to get your connection, on time to LaGuardia. So I'm just proposing that I'd also be possibly taking a look at. But in terms of, please, as a Queens resident and one who's seeing the, reduction on traffic on the Van Wyck, and I think it could also be placed to on the Grand Central, that we please endorse the LaGuardia train initiative, please. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Patrick, have we found you?
No, but Pat's here. Pat
Oh,
Beckles.
that's it. Okay. Oh, you were supposed to be one of our first speakers.
I know. I'm worth waiting for.
Please.
Well, everybody on the panel has finally smiled and looks approachable. Thank you. Okay. Hi, everybody. Good evening. My name is Pat Beckles, P-A-T-B-E-C-K-L-E-S, and I am a longstanding resident of the East Elmhurst community. I was born and raised here, and I also am the vice president of the Ditmars Boulevard Block Association. I am not speaking on behalf of the association, as some are in support and some are not. So let me just put that out there. I am not in support of this air train. Listening from what others have said, the supporters obviously don't reside in the community near or around or adjacent to the Grand Central Parkway or LaGuardia Airport. Nor does anyone on this panel. Our air quality has worsened regardless of what studies are supposedly or allegedly saying since the airport upgrade has started. Property damage is increasing from pile driving, not to mention the disturbance of our quality of life. And I don't understand how LGA is being compared to Kennedy International, and I stress international airport. A national airport does not need the same means of transportation as a national airport. The volume is much less. No one is going to transition from 1 to, never mind, 3 trains with luggage, family, to bypass their destination to go to Willets Point, to go back to their destination. Since COVID and the pandemic, public transportation is a less desirable mode of transportation, and I don't foresee that changing. We're being bought by Port Authority with a promise of a promenade upgrade only if the air train is a go. I am an avid traveler, and public transportation is my last resort of starting my travel, whether it be for business or my vacation. I will either drive myself, get a ride, or fund a private car. And I think we should definitely find something constructive and beneficial to do with billions of taxpayers' dollars than to block the view of the residents of this community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we've found Annette Gill, followed by Leo Sang. Do we have Annette or Leo available? I also have a note that Cornelius is available. I don't see Cornelius
Yeah.
on the list.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please state your name and spell it for the stenographer, and then give us your comments.
Thanks. My name is Matthew Cornelius. That's Matthew. Last name is Cornelius. And thank you for the opportunity to make comment tonight. I am the Executive Vice President at Airports Council International North America, or ACINA. ACINA represents local, regional, and state governing bodies that own and operate commercial airports in the United States and Canada. Our members represent more than 300 airports operating in the United States and Canada, and nearly 400 aviation-related businesses. ACINA supports the preferred alternative 9A, which will provide LaGuardia Airport with long-needed, predictable public transit access to the airport for both airport travelers and employees. The airport proprietor's unique insight and knowledge of the project, including the need for it, have been and will continue to be critical to the draft environmental impact statement and must be considered throughout this National Environmental Policy Act process. We also want to voice our interest in the process that has been used to develop the draft environmental impact statement. This process has allowed for public comment and review of the LaGuardia Access Improvement Project, facilitated identification of key environmental impacts associated with the project, and the development of mitigation for these impacts. The LaGuardia Access Improvement Project is a significant project in our national infrastructure that will enable the airport to meet the needs of customers and positively impact the New York City region for decades to come. It's infrastructure projects like this one that will keep regions and our country economically competitive, which is why the Port Authority proposes to use the passenger facility charge as a means of financing the project. And providing a long-needed rail link to LaGuardia will help reduce congestion on roadways and lower the environmental impact of airport users in a meaningful way. We have seen many airports around the country provide for multimodal ground access options recently, and the benefits are countless. But our airports in the United States are far behind on needed infrastructure investments like this project, and the vehicles at airports' disposal to execute on these projects are a scarce resource. Moving this project forward and ensuring it has the funding necessary couldn't be more critical. Thank you for the opportunity to provide these comments.
Thank you, Matthew. Have we found Annette Gill? Leo Zhang? Dave Dutcher? Somebody's there. Don Rice?
Don Rice.
Please state your full name, spell it for the stenographer, and give us your comments.
Sure. I'm Don Rice. Rice is R-I-C-E. I'm CEO of Rice Financial Products Company. And my firm and I fully support the AirTran project at LaGuardia for a number of reasons, but let me highlight two of them. First, it would just be wonderful to have the option of taking a train to the airport, to know that you're going to get there in a certain amount of time. Right now, through cars, you have to leave in a fairly inefficient way. You have to plan in extra time. And that just makes the whole commute challenging. I fly frequently, my employees fly frequently, and having a train like they have in Chicago or Boston or Atlanta or most cities that goes straight to the airport would just be a really, really substantial improvement. Secondly, I want to speak to the fact that as a small New York City-based business, a Black-owned business, the Port Authority's done a great job of providing opportunities for small local firms and for minority-owned firms in all its projects, from construction to the business that we're in, financial services. It's done so with the LaGuardia projects before. We've been involved in those projects. They've been helpful to us as a firm and helpful to other folks that I know in the industry. And although I don't know it as well outside of my business, I see the same thing happening in the construction area and all of those things. So in closing, AirTran LaGuardia will provide an efficient way to travel between LaGuardia and Midtown Manhattan and the rest of New York by train. It'll make commuting more cost efficient and easier. And it will include a lot of local businesses like mine in the community. So thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Don. Do we have Frank Taylor available? Frank, if you're here, make some noise. Santos Rodriguez, do we have Santos available?
Yes. Good evening.
Good evening. Please state your full name and spell it for the stenographer.
Santos Rodriguez, S-A-N-T-O-S R-O-D-R-I-G-U-E-Z. Thank you very much. I'm sorry about that. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak tonight, to testify tonight. I'm here to testify on behalf of the Building and Construction Trades Council of Greater New York. The Building and Construction Trades Council of Greater New York is an organization of local building and construction trades unions that are affiliated with 15 international unions in North America's building trades union. Our local union affiliates represent approximately 100,000 union construction workers. The building trades mission is to raise the standard of living for all workers, to advocate for safe working conditions, and to collectively advance working conditions for our affiliates, members, as well as all New York City. The BCTC is in support of the LGA Access Improvement Project. We testified in support of this project in 2019, and our reason for supporting this project are as strong now as they were a year ago. The LGA Access Improvement Project is a vital infrastructure upgrade that will improve travel time to LaGuardia Airport, decrease roadway conditions, and increase accessibility to the airport. The AirTran will provide a key connection
Hey, Vaughn.
To LaGuardia's airport from the Long Island Railroad and New York City transit stations, creating a reliable and predictable trip from Midtown Manhattan to LaGuardia. New York has taken the necessary steps to bring LaGuardia Airport into the 21st century. We must now take the necessary steps to provide reliable and predictable access to LaGuardia Airport. The LGA Access Improvement Project will not only benefit travelers passing through LaGuardia Airport, but will also benefit the New Yorkers that work at the airport and variety capacity.
Santos has been muted.
I'm sorry, I have been muted. Do you hear me now?
You're back.
I'm not sure where I was muted at.
Will benefit the New Yorkers that work at the airport in a variety capacity.
Okay, thank you so much. In addition to improving travel time, LaGuardia Airport and providing a more reliable public transportation option, the construction of AirTrain itself is anticipated to support over 3,000 union jobs each year during construction. These jobs will support middle-class lifestyle, provide area standard wages, and provide the support workers and their families. The Building and Construction Trade Council of Greater New York and vicinity supports an infrastructure project like LaGuardia Access Improvement Project that will improve the lives of many New Yorkers, modernize our city, and create middle-class jobs for our members in the process. We thank you again for the opportunity to testify in support of LaGuardia Access Improvement Project. We urge you to approve this improvement project. Thank you once again for giving us the opportunity. Have a good night.
Good night. Thank you, Santos. I think we had Frank Taylor on for a second. If he can unmute his.
I'm on. Hello, sir?
Frank?
Yes, this is Frank Taylor.
Please spell your name for the stenographer and let us have your comments.
Great. My name is Frank Taylor, Frank Taylor Jr., Jr. I am a retired law enforcement. I am the president of Ditmars Boulevard Association. I'm also part of our community board, but I do not speak for them. I speak for my organization. Thank you for this opportunity, Judge Ramos, to speak, as I was not scheduled to, but I was sitting here, I was listening for the last 4 hours, and I'm amazed at what I'm hearing. The governor, our great governor of the state of New York, unlimited term governor, stated on national television that the residents have to feel the pain. Well, we're residents here, and this is not a third world country. We have constantly gone back and forth with Port Authority about air quality. They say that it's a big thing with jobs. Well, those jobs are not in this area, first of all. Second of all, we have the highest rates of asthma, COPD, lung cancer, and cancers. Why is that? One reason I contend, the NOx and the CO2 gases that are coming from that airport. No one has been addressing that for decades. Why is that? JFK has air monitors in the community, South Ozone Park and everything else. That airport is not in the community. This airport is in the community. The address of LaGuardia Airport is East Elmhurst. It is in the community. I hear from them that this is an airport community. I contend, what is that? An airport is a transportation hub. It's not a community. Okay? Recently, they have started doing things in the community, whether that's buying people, buying organizations, whatever it is. They've recently started to do that. Why is that? Has anybody scratched their head and said why? I also want to go back. My family has been in this area since 1956, well before I was born, okay? You come here and you don't live here. Joe Biden started this years ago when he said that this airport's a third world country. Well, I contend with Joe Biden, this is not a third world country. This is Queens, New York. Does anybody realize that? Now, I had a time with Councilman Castanedis. He's the environmental councilman for the city of New York. He had a hearing, and the hearing basically stated by over 50 people that you could not build on Rikers Island. Yes, I'll be off in a minute. Rikers Island. Well, Rikers Island and LaGuardia Airport are the same ground. It was the same dump, garbage fill, landfill in the 1920s. Now, you can't build on Rikers Island because the ground is contaminated. So what is the ground at LaGuardia Airport? And there has been nothing put in this community to protect the citizens and taxpayers. And we are one of the highest taxpayers in the city. And that's verified by Mayor de Blasio, Scott Stringer, Danny Drum, all these other.
Wrap this up.
Okay. All right. But I'm just saying that, you know, it's like the airport is like jobs. The jobs are not here, first of all. And then you sit down and you look and you say, okay, I got a job, but I'll die before I can retire. We don't have any hospitals and we don't have anything else here.
Frank,
What's going on?
thank you very much.
Thank you for the time. Thank you.
Good night. Okay,
Good
now
night.
we have found a couple more. We have Christopher Boylan. Christopher, are you there?
I am here.
Oh, wonderful.
So you hear me. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. My name is Chris Boylan. I'm a native of Queens myself, but I'm here today on behalf of the General Contractors Association of New York.
Sir, is your last name B-O-Y-L-A-N-D? I beg your pardon. Thank you.
B-O-Y-L-A-N.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's Christopher, C-H-R-I-S-T-O-P-H-E-R, Boylan, B-O-Y-L-A-N. The General Contractors Association represents 300 member firms, and they employ over 25,000 unionized skilled trades employees and professionals who have built New York's roads, bridges, tunnels, airports, rail and transit systems since 1909. We also co-chair the Better Way to LaGuardia Coalition, and I'm here today to urge the FAA to advance this critical infrastructure project. There are numerous reasons why AirTrain will be beneficial to both Queens and the greater New York region, but I'd like to make a couple of quick points. First, while our GCA members are the ones who would actually build the AirTrain project, which we anticipate will create over 3,000 good-paying, steady, middle-class construction jobs, many of them from Queens, our interest goes far beyond those opportunities. Our members, their employees, and their families live, work, and educate their children here in the New York metropolitan region, and we want to make sure that the infrastructure they use every day and the infrastructure that made this region one of the nation's most productive economic engines over the last century continues to support it for the next 100 years. We firmly believe that the current vision for LaGuardia's redevelopment is one of the keys to that future success. It's one that leaves the 20th century in the rearview mirror and embraces the 21st century economy, dependent on time-saving communication and convenient travel. Much progress has been made over the last 3 or 4 years on the broader redevelopment project by the Port Authority at the airport itself, most of which we're proud to say was done by GCA members. And while those improvements will certainly allow for better passenger flow, clearly the AirTrain element of the redevelopment effort will be an essential element to its overall success. And while there's been a temporary lull in airport travel due to the coronavirus pandemic, we fully anticipate that by the time this project is complete, the increased traffic volume will resume, and we expect that passenger travel will grow to as many as 6 million passengers a year. So the need to get those people from business centers and homes on an increasingly overburdened highway and local roadway system that pollutes right there in front of the airport will continue to be of paramount importance, and AirTrain will be the solution. And that's in addition to eliminating the wasted commuting time for over 10,000 employees who report for work each day. The only sensible solution to help alleviate the burden is a predictable, frequent, and reliable rail transit service. For those of us who were around when the JFK AirTrain was first proposed, as some people mentioned, there were skeptics who thought no one would use it, and they thought it would be like Disneyland's monorail. Instead, there is little argument about its success today, unlike what some others may have alluded to tonight. It's outstripped even the most optimistic ridership projections. Millions of travelers have changed their travel patterns and the airport choices they make, myself included. I don't fly out of LaGuardia because it's very difficult to get to. And I use the AirTrain, as do many people. And if all you have to do is get on the system and see how crowded it is. Over the last dozen years, it's carried over 60 million passengers, all of whom would have otherwise come by car, taxi, or inadequate and lengthy shuttle bus services. We have an unprecedented opportunity to do the same with LaGuardia AirTrain and transform the travel experience to and from one of the nation's busiest airports, and in doing so, realize massive benefits for the Queens community, New York City, and the broader metropolitan region. Not seizing this opportunity would be an unfortunate and irresponsible oversight. And again, on behalf of the GCA Executive Director, Robert Wessels, our entire association, we're proud to support the AirTrain to LaGuardia, and we urge the FAA to advance the project expeditiously. And thank you very much for letting me speak tonight.
Thank you, Christopher. We have two more speakers on the list now, Grace Stevens and Janice Holder. Grace, are you available?
Here. Hi, my name is Grace Stevens, GRACESTEVENS. I'm the Community Relations Manager of LaGuardia Gateway Partners, the manager and developer of Terminal B at LaGuardia Airport.
I beg your pardon, Grace. Would you mind to give me a little bit more oomph, just a little bit more volume, please?
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
That's a little bit better. Thank you, ma'am.
Of course. Thank you for allowing me to make a comment tonight. As a LaGuardia Airport employee and an Astoria resident, I offer my full support of the LaGuardia AirTrain. As mentioned, I'm an employee of the new state-of-the-art Terminal B at LaGuardia Airport, and we must invest in mass transit solutions that do not displace Queens residents, and this proposal does just that. Employees like me deserve a better way to commute to and from work every day, and I've spent the last 4 years helping to build a better LaGuardia Airport, and this AirTrain would make it even better. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Janice. I'm sorry, no, thank you, Grace. Janice Holder is the next speaker.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, who's this?
This is Janice Holder.
Oh, wonderful.
JANUS, Holder, HOLDER. And I am a user of LaGuardia Airport. And at times it takes me up to 3 hours to make a 45-minute trip into LaGuardia. And that is not included trying to find parking in and around the airport. Most major airports in the US and globally, have a substantial public train system to get to and from the airport. As many have said, LaGuardia does not provide us with that. This train, the AirTrain to the airport, is a substantial improvement, just as the capital improvement to the airport has happened. Not to go forward with this AirTrain project would, I think, do a disservice to many of those who want to continue to utilize LGA. And secondly, I'd like to say to the FAA that it is important that they approve the PFC funds for this project to make it a viable financial project for the area, and not use as many other public funds in this. Thank you for this opportunity to say how I support the project and the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Holder. We have now a number of other speakers who have signed up. Jacqueline Burrell, Matt Kemper, Margaret Flanagan, Robert Lascazon, and Maria Bisi. Do we have Jacqueline Burrell available?
Yes, I'm here.
State your full name and spell it for the stenographer, please.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jacqueline Burrell. That is JACQUELYN Burrell, BURRELL.
Please.
How's everybody? First off, I'd like to introduce myself as being a New Yorker my entire life. I am also a service-disabled veteran-owned business, as well as a MWBE, Minority Women Business Enterprise. And I am in full support of this program and saving the infrastructure. I think it's very, very smart. Supporting the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey LaGuardia AirTrain can allow for an inclusive post-COVID economic recovery. What we can do for our environment is unimaginable. It's just something has to be done on the island getting to LGA. LGA used to be my primary airport. I would go from JFK to LGA, HPN, and Newark when needed. I stopped traveling LGA and going to LGA because of the issues of getting out there. The issues that a disabled person has in getting out there, whether it be the subway or getting a car. I believe that the value of investigating in a reliable transit alternative to provide exact direct access to the airport is so important. I support the LGA AirTran project, and it's more sustainable and reliable. Investing in this infrastructure project can allow for an inclusive post-COVID economic recovery. I really hope that this project is able to secure sponsorship from the Federal Aviation Administration to move forward. Again, I speak of the Port Authority as a service-disabled veteran-owned company, as a women business enterprise. And I can tell you that they walk the talk. They have reached out to the community. They want the work to go to small businesses, minority business, disabled owners, New Yorkers. And they're out in the community being very active to work with these small businesses in the community, in New York City, in New York, to work with them and help them prepare and survive this terrible pandemic. Today, I will not take a subway from New York City there. I will not drive there. I will go to Newark. I will go anywhere else but LGA due to the limitations. I ask that you please look at this very seriously and approve it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Matt Kemper, are you there, please?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, my name is Matt, M-A-T-T, Camper, K-A-M-P-E-R. I am the regional director for Pastures United, which is a advocacy organization which represents pastures across the New York metropolitan area. I'm here tonight to strongly oppose the AirTrain LaGuardia project for a couple of major reasons. First of all, the project itself, for people who have to come from Long Island, I live on Long Island myself, to go on Long Island to LaGuardia, most of the riders, especially on the Long Island Railroad, have to take sometimes transfer once, maybe even twice, if their train does not stop at Woodside. And the fact that we are looking at an AirTrain that starts at Massachusetts Point, basically people like myself from Long Island, it's going to be very hard for them to be able to get to LaGuardia via the AirTrain and have to take, two or and sometimes one, two, maybe even three trains just to get there is outrageous. And I feel strongly that this needs to be seriously looked at again. I understand the fact that traffic is horrible, and I understand the fact that we need a reliable way to get to LaGuardia Airport. LaGuardia is the only airport in this entire country that does not have a reliable way to get there. And I get that 100%. But the fact here is that I feel that there could be other places where this could go. I seriously think we need to look at again, and I'm serious, again, at possibly having this start at either Jamaica, where 10 of the 11 Long Island Railroad branches merge with each other, or at the Woodside station, as all the LIRR stations, the number 7 line, and a bunch of New York City transit bus lines are at. It would be a good thing for all riders. I feel that not a lot of people are going to use this, and people are going to try it. And especially, if you're coming from New York City, you have to go past LaGuardia just to go get there. It makes zero sense to me, and I think it is time that you guys look at this again. And I also mentioned in the public, I put this out there. I made a written statement about this. If this goes through and this happens, there needs to be shuttle service that stops at the Woodside station to be able to accommodate people trying to get from Long Island, because otherwise people are only going to benefit for people who come from Great Neck, from Bayside, Douglaston, Auburndale, Flushing. Only those people are going to benefit. So please, I strongly oppose this, and I hope you guys can rethink this again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Matt. Margaret Flanagan, are you available, please? Robert Lascalzo, are you there?
Hello, this is Margaret.
Oh, Margaret, fine. State your name and spell it, please, for the stenographer.
Sure, Margaret, M-A-R-G-A-R-E-T, Flanagan, F-L-A-N-A-G-A-N. And thank you for your time. It's wonderful to hear everyone's efforts about improving transportation to LaGuardia, which I agree is an important topic to be carefully thought through. I have to say, though, that the current plan is something that I'm opposed to. And I'll share some reasons why. I believe the alternatives analysis was flawed, as many other speakers pointed out. We live in an age of, autonomous electric vehicles, fuel cell ferries, the Second Avenue subway, even SpaceX. With all of that transportation creativity, it's hard to believe that out of 47 possible alternatives, only one actually meets the basic criteria to improve transportation to LaGuardia. So considering the faults in that process as you move forward would be greatly appreciated. I also appreciate the deep expertise of organizations like Regional Plan Association and the great value of the workers represented by General Contractors Association and things like that. But I agree with my neighbors here in Queens that those voices should not carry as much weight as the local communities that will be day in and day out affected by the current proposed plan of the air train taking our public parkland. In fact, many of those folks commented what a benefit it was that this wasn't taking private property. When you live in poor communities, nobody owns property anyway. It's our public parkland that's most valuable to us. Which brings me to my next topic. I am also a member of Guardians of Flushing Bay and agree with my colleague Rebecca's statement that so far the mitigation suggestions we've seen are just crumbs compared to the impact that we're going to have. Our park needs more restrooms. We need real water access points for education and recreation for our health on the water. These are things that require more investment than what we're seeing being offered right now. If the air train is going to have a life of something like 30 years, then there should be a 30-year investment every year into providing maintenance and mitigation for our communities. If there's any way that can be as built into the process as early as you can. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Robert Lascalzo, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please state your name and spell it for the stenographer, please.
I am Robert Loscalzo, R-O-B-E-R-T, L-O-S-C-A-L-Z-O, speaking in opposition. The draft EIS indicates that parking spaces lost to construction activities will be temporarily replaced using land in the special Willets Point district east of 126th Street. Two locations are available called option 1 and option 2. During the 2009 public scoping process, FAA did not disclose the use of Willets Point property for parking purposes. Yet FAA knew or should have known that such property is implicated by the AirTrain project. On March 1st, 2019, 3 months prior to the scoping process, the city administration signed a memorandum of agreement with the Port Authority allowing either or both of those options for replacement parking for the AirTrain project. That was essentially a secret agreement. It's only included in the draft EIS as an attachment to an appendix of a chapter. You couldn't bury it more deeply if you wanted to. Moreover, that agreement states that the parking use at Willets Point will require a mayoral zoning override. That's a tacit admission that the existing zoning does not allow the parking use. Nowhere does the draft EIS text itself disclose that the project requires changing existing zoning. Nowhere does the draft EIS justify why a behind closed doors mayoral zoning override is to be used instead of the city's public uniform land use review procedure. Has FAA or the Port Authority informed the City Council speaker that you intend to override the council's land use authority to implement the AirTrain project? Throughout the 2019 scoping process, FAA prevented the public from commenting on any of that, as well as impacts of relocating parking lots onto Willets Point property, impacts that could last for as long as 4 years and 4 months. There will be impacts to the city's Willets Point development project and to the progress of that property in the state's brownfield cleanup program. Inconsistency with existing plans is a NEPA factor. Willets Point land is allegedly contaminated. Nowhere does the draft EIS explain how such land, which according to the draft EIS may emit vapors that are harmful to human breathing, will actually be a safe place for drivers to park vehicles during 4 years and 4 months. There will be impacts to commuters who presently park in the Southfield commuter lot. Instead of parking conveniently beneath the number 7 subway station like they do now, they'll have to park on Willets Point property located as far away as Northern Boulevard and walk 9 blocks each way, including during the worst winter weather. Finally, the draft EIS obviously undercounts the number of parking spaces to be affected in the Southfield lot. The EIS says 193, but anybody can look at an aerial view on Google Maps and count more than 800 parking spaces that are available to commuters every day. I will submit written comments to supplement my comments here. Thank you for staying late tonight.
Thank you very much. Maria, are you available?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please spell your full name and give us your comments. You're going to be the last speaker, so make it good.
Thank you. First name is Maria, M-A-R-I-A. Last name, Becce, B for boy, E-C-C-E. Good evening, Judge Ramos. Thank you for putting this group together tonight so we can have a chance to make some comments. My comments tonight are not either, I have not yet made up my mind whether I am in favor or opposed to the LaGuardia AirTrain. I've been listening for the last 4 hours, first at the public workshop and now at the hearing, and I really wanted to understand the points of view that are being taken. What I gather are that 2 camps have formed. You have the Queens residents who live near the airport who will be most impacted. And you have the organizations that will be talking about the airport and the construction of the AirTrain as an economic engine. And I understand both sides of it. I am a lifelong resident of Queens. I was born and raised in Astoria, and I now currently live for the last 43 years in Northeast Queens. I have one quick statement, and then I want to talk a little bit more about the Long Island Railroad. I really urge everyone on this panel to listen to the concerns of the homeowners. They are making very, very important comments. And I know we all need economic stability, but please don't forget those people. They're the ones who have to live and deal with this all the time on a daily basis. What I really want to spend my time talking about is to urge Steve Culberson and the FAA to really rethink the need for extra subway and extra Long Island Railroad cars to accommodate this new plan. Prior to March 13th, I took the Long Island Railroad every single day from my house to Manhattan and back. And very often I would take the number 7 train if I wanted an alternate way to get into Manhattan. I can tell you unequivocally that commingling regular commuters with airport passengers, with the added concerns of luggage, is going to be a real problem on both the subway and the railroad. Even before this, even the air train, I'm sorry, doesn't even exist yet. But there will oftentimes be people, and I'll wrap this up. I just see a real problem when you put into that mix regular commuters. There will be times during the year when you have the US Tennis Open, Citi Field, regular commuters, and airline passengers with luggage. I really see that that's going to be a problem. I think you could resolve that issue by having added cars, separate cars, and really rethink if it really makes sense to commingle all those groups together at the same time. It's really going to cause a lot of problems for regular commuters on both the subway and the railroad. So thank you everyone for letting me speak. And I appreciate the fact that you went past the 9 o'clock time and allowed me to have an opportunity to express my opinion.
Thank you, Maria. Well, it's now 9:27 and the time allotted for this hearing is ending. Additional hearings will be held on the 23rd of September at 2 p.m. and the 24th at 5 p.m. The FAA will be holding another public workshop tomorrow, the 23rd, from 11 to 1, to provide members of the public the opportunity to review the findings of the environmental analysis and to ask questions of the project team regarding the draft environmental impact statement. I would repeat that additional comments can be submitted as been identified on the project website at www.lgaaccesseis.com by 5 p.m. on October 5. Thank you for attending this public hearing. This concludes this public hearing on the LaGuardia Airport Access Improvement Project Draft Environmental Impact Statement. Good night, everyone.